All of these celebrities, they are getting buccal fat removal. Kelly Osbourne, she says she hasn't had any plastic surgery. I believe she said she wasn't on Ozempic.
This trend that I am noticing is not only alarming, but disturbing.
We're talking about the growing list of stars who are going public with the problems they've had in the quest to stay young.
20 million cosmetic procedures last year.
Portrays cosmetic surgery as a fulfilling experience.
Good cosmetic surgery is when you can't tell if anything's been done.
But that doesn't always happen. Think of the most beautiful celebrity face you grew up loving. Got it? There is a very real chance that face is somewhere in this video, and what happened to it is going to completely change the way you see it.
You look different.
Well, you know, you see a movie once.
No, I saw it a few times.
10 years ago.
No, I saw it again just last month.
Oh, on television.
No, I saw it in a huge revival. I sat right next to the screen.
Because this is not just one bad decision. This is a pattern, cutting across generations, across Hollywood, across reality TV, across some of the most protected faces on the planet. We are talking about women who had access to the best doctors money can buy and still ended up unrecognizable. A-listers walking red carpets in 2026 with faces their own fans cannot place. And one trendy procedure that is quietly changing the faces of an entire generation of stars right now. And most of them will not realize what it cost them for another 10 years. Every name, every procedure, every before and after. And by the end, you are going to understand something about your own face that I genuinely wish someone had told these women before it was too late. If you learned something new, I would love it if you hit subscribe. We go this deep every single week. All right, let's get into it. Lara Flynn Boyle. Remember Lara Flynn Boyle? In the late 90s and early 2000s, she was everywhere. Men in Black 2, Twin Peaks, The Practice. Her classic Hollywood beauty made her unforgettable. That delicate face, those elegant features. She had the kind of timeless look that could have carried her through decades of roles. But somewhere along the way, Lara made a choice that would change everything. Speculation suggests she underwent a series of enhancements over the years. Nose work, lip fillers, possibly brow lifts, and dermal treatments. Each procedure was likely meant to preserve that youthful glow she was known for. But here's the cruel irony. The very thing she did to stay young made her look older, harder, almost unrecognizable. When she appeared at public events in recent years, fans couldn't believe their eyes. The swelling, the tightness, the dramatic shift in her facial structure. It was as if the woman they once admired had vanished entirely. Critics argue that Lara's natural beauty was her greatest asset, and in trying to hold on to it, she lost the very thing that made her special. Her story is a reminder that sometimes the quest for eternal youth erases the uniqueness we're trying to protect. Before Instagram even existed, Janice was fiercely claiming the title of the world's very first supermodel, dominating the fashion world throughout the 70s and 80s, gracing countless magazine covers, and later bringing her unfiltered personality to America's next top model. In her modeling prime, she was extraordinary. Flawlessly sharp cheekbones, a perfectly sculpted jaw, and natural full lips that made her a photographer's dream. Her face was all raw angles and untamed perfection. Over the decades, her relentless pursuit of perfection resulted in a wildly artificial face. Her lips were injected far beyond any natural proportion. Her features so thoroughly pumped and lifted that the angular beauty of her youth was completely replaced by something stretched and barely recognizable. She once famously claimed, and brace yourself, "I don't get anything in my cheeks. I have perfect bone structure, and my lips are mine." The world was not convinced. The most dramatic chapter, she appeared on Botched to have a decades-old implant replaced, then publicly accused the surgeon of botching her surgery. He fired back, pointing out she had removed her own surgical drains during recovery and refused to stop smoking. Janice Dickinson has always been the most compelling character in every room she enters, even when that room is a recovery ward.
Present the news of the past, present, and future. So here in the future is Don.
No, that's Dan Goldie.
Goldie Hawn. Just saying her name brings a smile. For over 5 decades, she embodied pure joy in American cinema. That infectious laugh, those sparkling blue eyes, the effortless charm that made her one of the most beloved stars of the 70s and 80s. She didn't need to try. Her light was genuine, spontaneous, warm. But Hollywood's clock ticks for everyone, even its brightest stars. As the years passed, Goldie felt the pressure. An industry obsessed with youth and terrified of aging doesn't forgive wrinkles or gray hair. In the early 2000s, she turned to enhancements, small touch-ups at first, cheek fillers, a bit of Botox, minor lifts, but one procedure led to another. In trying to preserve the face audiences loved, she slowly lost the natural expression that defined her beauty. The transformation became undeniable in 2014 when she walked the red carpet at the Academy Awards. Cameras captured a face that looked tight, puffy, almost frozen in surprise. Experts speculated about excessive Botox, multiple lifts, eyelid work. The smoothness came at a cost. That radiant, spontaneous smile now seemed rehearsed and stiff. When Goldie returned to the big screen in 2017's Snatched, fans noticed something missing: the spark. Her face moved less. Her expressions felt restrained, as if hidden beneath an invisible mask. Today, Goldie lives a quieter but joyful life with her longtime partner, Kurt Russell. She focuses on family, especially her daughter, actress Kate Hudson, and her mental health foundation. Though time has changed her face, her heart and laughter remain timeless. But her story serves as a cautionary tale about the cost of chasing youth in an industry that worships it.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy. Can you imagine being described in a scientific facial symmetry study as one of the most uniquely beautiful women in the world? And the thing that made her uniquely beautiful was specifically the parts of her face that did not fit the conventional template. The wide-set eyes, that slightly otherworldly quality, and those soft, full, almost luminous cheeks that gave her this completely magical quality on screen in The Queen's Gambit. That is what made audiences absolutely obsess over her. Dr. Gary Linkoff analyzed her publicly and noted that the specific area where buccal fat lives in her face appears to have changed in a way more consistent with removal than with simple aging or weight fluctuation. And fans on Reddit have been direct about how they feel about it. One comment that circulates constantly says, "Buccal fat removal took someone one of a kind and turned her into every other Hollywood face," because that is the real loss here. She was irreplaceable, and something irreplaceable seems to be gone.
I think if you want to be truly yourself, you cannot really care what people say about you. You have just to be yourself.
And now we reach the most extreme case on our list. Jocelyn Wildenstein's transformation is so shocking that it created an entirely new category of plastic surgery disaster. Known by nicknames like Catwoman, the Lion Queen, and the Bride of Wildenstein, she underwent one of the most extreme surgical transformations in human history. Wildenstein was naturally beautiful before her transformation, with elegant features and classic beauty that should have been more than enough to maintain her wealthy lifestyle. She made a decision that would define the rest of her life. Believing that her husband's love of big cats was behind his infidelity, Wildenstein decided to make herself look more like he collected. She underwent countless procedures, including extreme eye lifts, cheek implants, lip augmentations, and facial restructuring specifically designed to create a feline appearance. The procedures created a literally cat-like face that defied human anatomy. Her eyes were pulled into an unnatural shape. Her cheeks were inflated to impossible proportions. The transformation was so extreme that she became globally known as the ultimate example of plastic surgery gone wrong. Despite spending an estimated $4 million on surgeries, Wildenstein not only failed to win back her husband, but became a worldwide symbol of surgical obsession. Her transformation was so dramatic, creating a new standard for how far cosmetic surgery can go wrong. And now we slow down, because this next one is not funny, it is not dramatic, it is just genuinely sad. The ultimate Hitchcock blonde, her haunting dual role in the 1958 masterpiece Vertigo, cemented Kim Novak as a cinematic goddess for the ages. Mystery, sultriness, and a beauty that simply does not exist anymore. In her prime, Kim had a soft, sensual face, striking arched eyebrows, and a completely natural, graceful contour to her cheeks that required nothing at all to enhance it. Can you believe what happened at the 2014 Academy Awards? At 81 years old, Kim walked onto that stage to present an award, and the audible gasp from the audience was heard around the world. Her face was completely immobile, lips strangely inflated, her cheeks so thoroughly treated that her eyes seemed to be pulled backward. But this one still hurts, because what the entire cruel pile-on completely ignored was this. Kim had survived breast cancer, severe horse riding accident, and bipolar disorder, and had retreated from Hollywood decades earlier to live quietly on a ranch painting and raising animals. She came to that stage as a survivor. She deserved a standing ovation. That is the part of this story I genuinely cannot let go. If you went to the movies in the 1980s, you were almost certainly mesmerized by Daryl Hannah, the ethereal blonde of an entire generation, the breathtaking mermaid in Splash, alongside Tom Hanks, the haunting replicant in Blade Runner. For our generation, she represented a Hollywood magic that simply could not be replicated. Those piercing eyes, that wild blonde hair, and above everything else, that extraordinary bone structure. High sweeping cheekbones and a sharp jawline that gave her face a raw, authentic geometry no doctor could manufacture. It was entirely, purely her own. As the years passed, those sharp, natural angles were buried under layers of volume that blurred everything that made her face extraordinary. And then she just vanished. She withdrew from public life entirely, retreating to a quiet, environmentally focused existence far from Hollywood's glare, and has remained completely silent about any procedures. No interviews, no explanations, just gone. What most people never knew, during her peak fame, Daryl was romantically linked to JFK Jr., and his future wife, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, was actually a devoted admirer who championed Daryl as a major muse in New York's elite fashion scene. Even her real life read like a screenplay. Some stories are beautiful and heartbreaking at the exact same time.
Part 1 of the OC reunion aired, and there are a lot of people asking, what did Shannon do to her face?
Shannon Beador's journey into cosmetic enhancement began with what seemed like a smart approach. She started with conservative filler treatments to restore a youthful appearance without surgical risks. But like many people who begin with subtle enhancements, Shannon gradually escalated the amount and frequency of her treatments until her face looked completely unnatural. The overfilling became so severe that Shannon admitted she had gone too far and needed corrective action. She underwent hyaluronidase injections to dissolve the excessive filler, but the damage to her natural facial proportions was already done. Her face had been stretched and filled to the point where dissolving the fillers left her with loose, damaged skin. This forced Shannon into surgical intervention with a facelift, but her timing was catastrophic. She scheduled the procedure just 5 weeks before filming the Real Housewives reunion show. Facelift recovery typically requires 6 to 8 weeks for initial healing, with several months needed for final results. Appearing on television so soon after surgery meant viewers could see swelling, scarring, and other signs of recent trauma. The pressure to look perfect on camera drove Shannon to make decisions that compromised her healing and potentially her long-term results. Her rushed timeline became a topic of discussion among fans who noticed her unnatural appearance during filming. The case illustrates how reality TV pressures can push cast members into making cosmetic decisions based on production schedules rather than proper healing requirements.
You know, do I regret it? I don't regret anything, actually. I never regret anything.
Lisa Rinna's lip enhancement journey became one of the most documented cosmetic surgery disasters in reality television history, creating a decades-long medical nightmare that continues to impact her appearance today. Her problems began in the early 2000s, when she received silicone lip injections that seemed like a good idea at the time, but created permanent complications. The permanent silicone created what she describes as peas of scar tissue throughout her lips that required reconstructive surgery. This led to 10 years of ongoing complications as her body continued to react to the foreign substance. Unlike temporary fillers that eventually dissolve, the silicone created permanent changes to her lip structure that couldn't be easily reversed. Lisa's case demonstrates how early cosmetic procedures, particularly those involving permanent substances, can create lifelong challenges. The scar tissue formation was unpredictable and continued to develop long after the initial injections. She required multiple corrective procedures to address the ongoing problems, each creating additional trauma to her already damaged lip tissue. Her lips became her trademark feature, but the psychological pressure to maintain this artificial appearance trapped her in a cycle of ongoing treatments.
The living Barbie doll, the bionic woman, and the plastic princess are all names that have been used to describe Cindy Jackson.
When you first look at Cindy Jackson, you'd probably think she looks like any regular person walking down the street. There's nothing obviously unusual about her appearance at first glance, but that's exactly the point. And it's also what makes her story so shocking. What looks natural actually took 14 full surgical procedures and over 45 non-surgical treatments to achieve. We're talking about a chin reduction, 2 eyelid surgeries, multiple liposuction sessions, 2 nose jobs, 3 complete facelifts, chemical peels, Botox injections, and even permanent makeup tattooed onto her face. The transformation started after her father passed away when Cindy was just 21. She inherited money and saw it as an opportunity to finally change the appearance she'd never been happy with. What began as minor tweaks slowly spiraled into a full-blown obsession. Cindy started scheduling procedures just months apart, constantly finding new things to fix or enhance. At one point, she even held the Guinness World Record for having the most cosmetic procedures done on a single person. When she eventually lost that record to someone else, she reportedly had a necklace made to cope with no longer being number one. Today, Cindy runs her own plastic surgery consulting business, where this youthful-looking woman advises celebrities and wealthy clients on how to get natural-looking results from their surgeries. The irony isn't lost on anyone. From the West to the East, our next transformation crosses cultural boundaries.
A Japanese girl underwent 30 plastic surgeries and spent over $102,000 to look like a French doll.
In Japan, eyelid surgery to achieve more Western-looking features has become incredibly popular over the years. It's practically a trend at this point, but Japanese model Vanilla Chamu decided to take this cultural phenomenon way beyond the typical eyelid procedure. Starting her transformation journey in 2013 at just 19 years old, Vanilla set her sights on becoming a real-life French doll. First came the skin bleaching treatments to look more Caucasian. Then she dyed her hair bright ginger to complete the European look. Of course, she got the popular double eyelid surgery that so many seek out, but she didn't stop there. Vanilla also had extensive work done on her nose, lips, breasts, and chin. She spent well over $100,000 on more than 30 surgical procedures, and incredibly, she's still not satisfied. What makes Vanilla's story even more shocking is what she's planning next. She wants to undergo height lengthening surgery, which is considered one of the most dangerous cosmetic procedures available. The surgery involves literally breaking the leg bones and slowly stretching them apart as they heal, adding a few inches of height over many painful months. Doctors warn about the serious risks, including permanent disability, but Vanilla remains determined to continue her transformation no matter the cost.
I appreciate that compliment. Thank you very much. You know, there's been a lot of attention on my diet and exercise recently.
Kyle Richards from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills experienced one of the most publicly documented cosmetic surgery regrets in franchise history. Her nose job disaster became a recurring topic on the show, with Kyle openly discussing how the procedure went wrong and created years of breathing problems and aesthetic issues. Kyle's original nose job was performed years ago, but the results were immediately problematic. The surgery created severe functional problems that made it difficult for her to breathe properly. She described feeling like her nasal passages were constantly blocked, making simple activities like sleeping and exercising challenging. The aesthetic results were equally disappointing, creating an unnatural appearance that didn't complement her facial features. The breathing problems became so severe that Kyle required revision surgery to correct the functional issues. However, the revision surgery created additional scar tissue and complications that made her situation even worse. She has been remarkably candid about her regrets, stating multiple times on camera that she wishes she had never touched her nose in the first place. Joan Van Ark. Joan Van Ark was a television treasure. During the 70s and 80s, her role as Valine Ewing on Knots Landing made her a household name. She had this angelic quality, soft features, a radiant smile that lit up the screen. Fans adored her warmth and grace, but as the years went by, Joan became fixated on one thing: stopping time. It started small, just a rhinoplasty in the early 90s, barely noticeable, but that first procedure opened the door to many more. Facelifts, eyelid work, Botox. Each time she saw a new wrinkle or sign of aging, she turned to another treatment, and with each visit to the surgeon, her face changed a little more. The glow faded, her skin became tight and pale, her expressions froze in place. By the 2000s, Joan's transformation had become a tabloid obsession. Headlines asked, "What happened to Joan Van Ark?" High-definition cameras revealed every surgical trace: the taut skin, the hollow eyes, the smile that no longer moved naturally. When she appeared at the Knots Landing 40th anniversary in 2020, longtime fans were stunned. The woman they remembered was almost gone. Joan keeps a lower profile now, occasionally appearing at charity events and reunions. Despite the criticism, she remains proud of her work and the legacy she built, but her journey stands as a haunting reminder that the battle against time is one no one truly wins. And sometimes, the most beautiful thing we can do is simply grow older with grace.
A mouse trying to be an elephant.
Why, you know, 50-year-olds doing it? And,
it's got nothing to do with your age, or maybe it has, but...
Simon Cowell, the legendary judge behind The X Factor and Got Talent, known for his sharp critiques and brutally honest opinions. But by 2023, Simon was making headlines for a different reason: his face. The transformation was so dramatic that fans compared his look to a character straight out of a comedy sketch. Tight skin, frozen expressions, and almost unnatural smoothness that didn't match the man everyone knew. But here's the part that really hits hard. The transformation didn't just shock fans, it unsettled his young son, Eric. Reports say the boy found his father's new appearance concerning. He didn't recognize the face staring back at him, and that reaction, it was a turning point for Simon. Realizing the impact his choices were having on his own child, he decided to step back from invasive treatments. Simon made a choice that few in Hollywood make. He stopped. He focused on simpler routines like regular facials and better skincare. More importantly, he embraced a healthier lifestyle, improved diet, hydration, wellness over vanity. His journey proves that real transformation isn't just skin deep. It's about self-awareness, balance, and making choices that truly enhance life, not just appearance. Today, Simon looks more like himself again, softer, more natural, and he's open about his regrets, admitting he went too far. His story is a powerful reminder that sometimes the people who love us most can see what we can't, and listening to them might just save us from ourselves. LaToya Jackson, born into one of the most famous families in the world, she grew up surrounded by cameras, talent, and constant comparisons, especially to her legendary brother, Michael Jackson. In the 1980s, LaToya tried carving her own path as a singer, actress, and model. Her album, My Special Love, earned her a spot on the charts, and for a while, she was seen as the warmer, more relatable Jackson sibling. But as her fame grew, so did her insecurities. The pressure to stay flawless, combined with the shadow of Michael's own changing appearance, set her on a similar path. By the late 1980s, LaToya underwent her first nose reshaping, meant to refine her features. The change was striking and quickly became a topic of fascination. More work followed throughout the 1990s. Additional nose jobs, facelifts, cheek implants, chin enhancements, lip fillers. With each procedure, she drifted further from her natural self. Her skin grew tight and expressionless, her nose increasingly narrow, her once soft smile turned unnervingly stiff. And inevitably, comparisons to Michael resurfaced. Two siblings, both transformed by the same impossible quest for perfection. In later years, LaToya became a symbol of Hollywood's obsession with image. Every TV appearance reignited conversations about the cost of fame and the extremes of enhancement. Yet behind the headlines was a woman wrestling with identity, someone who sought acceptance in the mirror rather than within. Today, in her late 60s, LaToya lives a quieter life, appearing occasionally on television and supporting projects honoring her family's legacy. Her story stands as a poignant reflection on the Jackson family's greatest paradox, a dynasty that achieved everything except true self-acceptance. Linda Evangelista. In the 1990s, she was the supermodel. Her face graced more than 700 magazine covers, defining an era of elegance, confidence, and high fashion allure. She was so iconic, so in demand, that she famously said, "I don't get out of bed for less than $10,000 a day." But behind that flawless image lay a story that would later change her life forever. In 2015, Linda decided to try cool sculpting, a trendy, non-invasive fat freezing procedure that promised to remove stubborn fat without the knife or downtime. It was considered safe. Many celebrities swore by it. Yet for Linda, what began as a simple treatment turned into a devastating nightmare. After 7 sessions, the treated areas began to harden and enlarge instead of shrinking. Her chin, thighs, and chest slowly became misshapen. Doctors diagnosed her a rare side effect that affects less than 1% of patients. For Linda, that unlucky percentage destroyed not only her appearance, but also her career. She underwent 2 corrective procedures in 2016 and 2017, but the damage was irreversible.
And it was supposed to be non-invasive, not painful, no surgery. And that expression, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
The physical pain was harsh, but the emotional toll was even greater. She withdrew from the spotlight for years. She avoided cameras, fashion shows, even close friends. The once dominant face of the fashion world vanished. Today, Linda has courageously returned to the public eye, modeling again with pride and vulnerability. She now speaks openly about her trauma, using her platform to raise awareness about the hidden dangers of even safe procedures. Once the embodiment of perfection, Linda Evangelista has become a powerful voice for resilience, honesty, and the beauty of survival. Her story proves that even the most celebrated faces can fall victim to the pursuit of perfection. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is show the world your scars. Dolly Parton, the beloved queen of country music, celebrated not only for her iconic voice and heartfelt songs, but also for her unforgettable appearance. That signature big hair, sparkling outfits, warm stage presence, she's crafted a persona recognized worldwide. But here's what makes Dolly Dolly different from almost everyone else on this list? Her honesty. Over the years, Dolly has been completely candid about the work she's had done. Brow lifts, facelifts, eyelid work, chin adjustments, nose refinements. These choices have sparked mixed reactions, but they've also helped define the striking image that fans admire. Dolly has never shied away from the truth. She once famously said, "I look completely fake, but I'm completely real." And that's the key. Dolly owns her choices. She doesn't pretend, she doesn't hide. She's taken control of her image without apology. And in doing so, she's sent a powerful message about self-acceptance and confidence. In a world obsessed with perfection and terrified of aging, Dolly stands as a beacon of authenticity. She's proven that you can embrace both the choices you make and the natural aging process. Her story reminds us that it's not about whether you choose enhancements or not. It's about being honest with yourself and the world. And that kind of confidence, that's the real beauty. Dolly continues to shine at 79, still performing, still inspiring, still being unapologetically herself. And maybe that's the lesson we all need to learn. Here's an experiment you can try right now. Scroll through Instagram and pay attention to celebrity smiles. You'll notice something really unsettling pretty quickly. They all look exactly the same. We're talking perfectly aligned, impossibly white, and weirdly uniform rectangles that seem to have been copy-pasted from the same catalog. It's not just a coincidence. We're witnessing what I call the great homogenization, where every distinctive feature that once made someone memorable is being systematically erased in pursuit of an artificial standard of perfection. This isn't really about teeth at all. It's about the slow erasure of human character in the age of Instagram. What's particularly troubling is that many of these celebrities had smiles that were actually their signature, the thing that made them stand out in a sea of faces.
She got some veneers, but didn't floss before a public appearance. They look great, but again, there's food in her teeth.
Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan serves as perhaps the most visible example of what we might call the Miami shift, where distinctive stars slowly morph into the same generic Instagram face through successive cosmetic procedures. Her original smile during the Mean Girls era had character, some staining, slight unevenness, but overall a natural appearance that matched her girl-next-door persona. Over the years, she's undergone what appears to be extensive work, including teeth whitening, and what sources believe are either ceramic crowns or porcelain veneers that have completely transformed her smile into something bright, white, and uniform. The challenge with her transformation is that it didn't happen in isolation. It occurred alongside numerous other facial procedures that have gradually eroded the unique features that made her recognizable. Her current smile, while technically perfect, could belong to any number of reality TV stars or influencers who've had similar work done. What's particularly telling is how her case illustrates the slippery slope of cosmetic enhancement. You fix one thing, then another, until the cumulative effect is a face that no longer resembles the person you started with. Industry observers have noted that her teeth now look almost too perfect, lacking the natural variation in color and translucency that makes real teeth look organic. It's a cautionary tale about how the pursuit of perfection can lead to homogenization, where everyone ends up looking vaguely similar rather than distinctively themselves. Zac Efron. Zac Efron's transformation is particularly jarring when you compare his High School Musical era smile to what he has today. Back then, his teeth had a natural appearance slightly uneven with a small gap in the middle that gave his face an accessible boy-next-door quality that made him a teen heartthrob. Fast forward to his post-Baywatch career, and insiders suggest he's had what appears to be a full set of zirconia veneers that have dramatically altered his facial structure. The new teeth are noticeably wider, more uniform, and create what some observers have described as a blocky appearance that changes the proportions of his lower face. What's particularly interesting about his case is that his original teeth were already quite good, certainly better than average, which raises questions about why he felt the need for such extensive work in the first place. The transformation isn't subtle. It's one of those before and afters where you can immediately spot the difference, and not necessarily in a flattering way. Some fans have actually expressed disappointment with his new look, noting that his original smile was part of what made him charming and relatable. The mathematical perfection of his current teeth creates an almost artificial quality, as if his face has been slightly altered in post-production. It's a reminder that Hollywood's pursuit of perfection can sometimes overshoot the mark, creating results that are technically flawless, but somehow less appealing than the imperfect original they replaced. Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus during the Hannah Montana era had what experts call a gummy smile, where her gums were prominently visible when she smiled, along with some natural spacing and minor gaps. It was youthful, it was endearing, and it made her look like the girl next door that millions of kids could relate to. Fast forward to today, and that signature smile has been completely transformed through what insiders believe was a combination of gum contouring, Invisalign treatment, and porcelain and veneers. The new smile is mathematically perfect, uniformly white, and completely symmetrical, but it's also completely generic. What's particularly striking is how heavy and opaque her new teeth appear, lacking the translucency that natural enamel has when light passes through it. Cosmetic professionals who've analyzed her transformation note that the gum contouring procedure she underwent is irreversible, meaning there's no going back to that original smile, even if she wanted to. Her facial proportions have permanently changed, and with them, a piece of what made her visually distinctive during her most iconic era. The irony is that her imperfect smile was actually an asset during her transition from child star to adult artist, giving her an authenticity that separated her from more polished pop stars. Now she looks like she could be any number of celebrities who've had similar work done, and that loss of visual identity is something you can't put a price on.
No, I never considered, altering how I look.
Fans had noticed that her once full cheeks had become significantly more hollow, giving her a sharper, more angular look. The transformation was particularly noticeable because Michelle had been in the public eye since her Broadway days, providing a clear timeline of her facial changes.
I love my shape because it's unique to me, and I'm very proud of that.
The procedure has given Michelle a more mature and defined appearance. However, critics argue that it has also aged her prematurely and created an unnaturally hollow look that detracts from her natural beauty. Before the procedure, Michelle had a fuller face that complemented her features and gave her a youthful appearance. The contrast is particularly stark when comparing photos from her Glee era to recent red carpet appearances. The fullness that once softened her features and made her look approachable has been replaced by sharp angles and hollow cheeks. Many fans have voiced their preference for her previous look. Michelle's case serves as a clear example of how buccal fat removal can dramatically alter someone's appearance, even when performed successfully.
I would never work for a horse trainer. Travis is my boyfriend. This is Bella Hadid, and I'm going to take you through my life in looks so far.
Bella Hadid's transformation from fresh-faced to gaunt runway model represents one of fashion's most disturbing evolutions. The supermodel has long been rumored to have undergone buccal fat removal, and plastic surgeons have extensively analyzed her facial changes to support the speculation. Comparing Hadid's early modeling photos to recent appearances reveals dramatic changes to her facial structure.
Bella had always denied having had any tweakments or surgery. People think I got all this surgery or did this or that. And you know what? We can do a scan of my face, darling. I'm scared of putting fillers into my lips. I wouldn't want to mess up my face.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much the scan of the face. Everything from the orientation of her eyebrows. And then when you look at the nose, clearly it's been thinned out. That does not happen through injections or just a natural aging process. Pretty much the entire facial structure has changed. It's become a lot more narrow, likely some buccal fat removal as we keep talking about, maybe some jawline contouring. I mean, all those things are done.
Her once full cheeks have been replaced by sharp, hollow angles. Plastic surgeons point to her jawline being more defined and her cheeks being less full as evidence of buccal fat pad reduction. The procedure, rumored to have been performed years ago, has given Hadid an unnaturally hollow appearance that makes her look significantly older than her years. Beauty experts and fans alike have noted that her 2018 face looked better than her current appearance, suggesting that the enhancement may have backfired. The transformation has sparked debate about beauty standards in the fashion industry and whether the pressure to achieve a certain look is driving models to undergo unnecessary and potentially damaging procedures. Hadid's case has become a cautionary tale about the pursuit of perfection in an industry that values extreme aesthetics over natural beauty.
Really seeing the results, and I like it.
Chrissy Teigen's journey with buccal fat removal represents a turning point in how celebrities discuss cosmetic procedures. Teigen inadvertently sparked a trend that would influence countless others to undergo the same potentially damaging procedure. Teigen's decision to have buccal fat removal came during a period of intense social media scrutiny. As a model and social media influencer married to John Legend, she was constantly photographed and analyzed online. The pressure to maintain a certain appearance on Instagram, where harsh lighting and close-up photos can make natural facial fullness appear unflattering, likely influenced her decision to pursue the procedure. Initially, Teigen was satisfied with her results and spoke positively about the experience. She became the first major celebrity to openly discuss having buccal fat removal, describing the procedure in casual terms on social media. Her openness was initially praised as refreshing honesty in an industry known for secrecy about cosmetic procedures. However, sources close to Teigen suggest that her feelings about the procedure have evolved significantly since then. While she has not publicly expressed regret, those familiar with her situation indicate that she has privately questioned the decision, particularly as she has observed the long-term effects on her facial structure. The procedure has created a more angular appearance that photographs well in professional settings, but can appear harsh in casual, everyday situations. Friends and family members have reportedly noticed that Tegan looks different in person compared to her carefully curated social media images. Medical experts have expressed concern about Tegan's role in popularizing the procedure. Dr. Ellen Gendler warns that when you take out an underlying structure in a permanent procedure and you age around it, you don't know how it's going to look. Tegan's influence on social media meant that millions of young people were suddenly considering a procedure that could have devastating long-term consequences. Industry insiders report that Tegan spends thousands of dollars annually on maintenance procedures designed to counteract the effects of her buccal fat removal. This includes regular filler injections in the cheek area and other facial treatments designed to restore some of the volume that was surgically removed. The irony is that she is essentially paying to replace what she originally paid to remove.
It squirts the fuel in so you can go faster.
Oh.
Good morning, Mr. Peretti.
Megan Fox's transformation represents the ultimate cautionary tale about buccal fat removal gone wrong. Once considered one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, Fox's journey through multiple cosmetic procedures, including suspected buccal fat removal, has created a face that bears little resemblance to the natural beauty that made her famous. In her prime during the Transformers era, Fox possessed the kind of natural beauty that was both striking and approachable. Her face had perfect proportions, with naturally high cheekbones balanced by soft, feminine fullness in her cheeks. She had what plastic surgeons call ideal facial architecture, strong bone structure softened by youthful fat distribution that created depth and dimension. The suspected buccal fat removal was just one part of what appears to have been an extensive series of cosmetic procedures. Plastic surgery experts who have analyzed Fox's transformation note that her perfectly contoured face and sharp jawline show clear signs of buccal fat pad reduction. The procedure has created an unnatural hollowing in her cheeks that becomes particularly apparent in certain lighting conditions. What makes Fox's case so tragic is that the procedure has fundamentally altered her most distinctive feature, her natural beauty. The soft, feminine fullness that once balanced her strong features has been replaced by sharp, angular lines that create a harsh appearance. The warmth and approachability that made her such a compelling screen presence have been lost in pursuit of an artificial ideal. The long-term consequences of Fox's buccal fat removal have become increasingly apparent as she has aged. Dr. Darren Smith's warning that the big danger with buccal fat pad excision is prematurely aging the face has proven prophetic in Fox's case. She shows signs of facial aging that are typically seen in much older individuals. The hollowing effect has created deep shadows under her cheekbones that age her significantly. Where she once had a face that was photogenic from every angle, she now requires careful lighting and positioning to achieve flattering photos. The three-dimensional quality that made her face so striking has been reduced to a flatter, more one-dimensional appearance. One anonymous patient who underwent buccal fat removal shared an experience that mirrors what Fox may be going through. I felt like a chipmunk. I found myself questioning, will my cheeks ever return to normal? Why did I do this? My face was fine before. The patient, who required extensive recovery and now relies on fillers to maintain facial structure, concluded, I would not advise anyone to undergo buccal fat removal. Here is a story that actually ends somewhere hopeful. As scheming Sammy Jo on Dynasty and the ruthless, iconic Amanda Woodward on Melrose Place, Heather Locklear commanded every scene she was ever in. Feathered golden hair, dazzling eyes, naturally high cheekbones, and a sleek jawline that needed absolutely nothing done to it. One of those women the camera just fell completely in love with every single time. Recently, photos resurfaced that left fans genuinely stunned. The sharp, elegant bone structure of her Melrose Place days had softened into something noticeably rounded and different from the woman viewers had adored for decades. But here is what truly sets Heather apart from almost everyone on this list, the woman who emerged on the other side of all of it. In 2025, she has spoken openly in interviews about her personal journey, her addiction recovery, and reflections on choices that changed how she looks. The willingness to say publicly, I went through some things and I came out the other side, that is the most beautiful thing Heather Locklear has ever done. And I mean that completely. We are halfway through our list now, and the top 9 contain the names that will genuinely surprise you. These were not just beautiful women. They were the blueprint, the gold standard, the faces that defined entire eras of Hollywood beauty. Number 5's origin story is something I genuinely could not believe when I found it. Keep going. Now here is the entry that stopped me completely cold when I researched it, because this woman did something almost nobody on this list had the courage to do. French actress Emmanuelle Béart became a global name with the 1986 classic Manon des Sources and captivated American audiences as the brilliant, seductive spy in Mission Impossible alongside Tom Cruise. Critics described her as having gem-like eyes akin to eternal morning stars, a face that felt like a timeless classical painting come to life. Unlike so many on this list who stayed silent, Emmanuelle spoke with heartbreaking, complete honesty. At just 27 years old, heavy botched injections in her lips threw off the entire delicate balance of her face permanently. "I had my mouth done when I was 27. It was a botched job," she admitted openly, calling it a grave act in which you don't necessarily foresee all the consequences. And then, rather than retreating in shame, she turned that experience into a fierce public crusade, demanding stricter psychological screening before irreversible decisions are ever made. That is not a woman who crumbled, that is a woman who fought back, and I think she deserves enormous credit for it. And here is the one that genuinely reframes everything, because Melanie Griffith's story has a beginning that almost nobody knows. Her Academy Award-nominated performance as the ambitious Tess McGill in Working Girl made her a feminist icon for an entire generation. Soft, dreamy beauty, a natural jawline, soft blonde hair, sweet, expressive eyes, the delicate balance of a true Hollywood ingenue with real fire underneath. As the years passed, heavy lip treatments and a significantly filled mid-face gradually erased the delicate bone structure that defined her youth. She eventually had much of it dissolved, acknowledging the immense unfair pressure placed on women in Hollywood to freeze in time. Her daughter, Dakota Johnson, paid a quietly beautiful tribute to her working girl era by recreating one of Melanie's famous scenes line for line in 50 Shades Darker, and that detail just warms my heart every time. But wait, here's the untold piece that completely reframes her whole story. Melanie's very first cosmetic experience was never about vanity. As a teenager on a film set, she suffered severe facial injuries that required actual reconstructive surgery. Her complicated relationship with her own face began not in a beauty clinic, but in a hospital room. For 10 extraordinary years, Courteney Cox brought Monica Geller to life on Friends and became a horror icon as reporter Gail Weathers in the Scream franchise. Raven dark hair, piercing blue eyes, naturally prominent cheekbones, and a lean sculpted jawline that perfectly framed her bright wide smile, the kind of beautiful that never needed to announce itself. It just quietly filled every room. The pressure to maintain that iconic face led her down a slow, painful slope. Over time, the natural architecture of her features gave way to a puffed, rounded appearance. Cheeks significantly expanded, the whole face simultaneously tight and bloated. And then, can you believe this? Courteney explained exactly how it happens with more honesty than almost anyone else on this entire list.
Which, thank God, they are removable, but I think I messed up a lot.
You keep doing more because you look normal to yourself. You look in the mirror and go, "Oh, that looks good," she confessed, admitting the injectables made her look a little off, and that her fear of aging was ultimately a bummer and a waste of time. She had every filler dissolved. She reversed it completely. She even wanted to post her own before and after photos publicly as a warning to other women. Courteney Cox did not just become a cautionary tale, she became a beacon, and that matters.
It was hard, but I think I had to keep going and keep working.
Lil' Kim was once a beautiful, confident rapper with distinctive features and natural charisma. She had strong facial structure, expressive eyes, and a unique look that made her stand out in the hip-hop world. But what began as corrective surgery for injuries spiraled into a complete transformation that left her unrecognizable. Kim underwent multiple procedures, including extensive skin lightening treatments, facial restructuring, and repeated nose jobs. Each surgery seemed to erase more of her original identity. Her face became overfilled and distorted, with no natural transitions between features. Plastic surgeons who analyzed her transformation noted the complete loss of her original facial structure. The tragedy of Kim's case is that her transformation was driven by insecurity rather than vanity. The corrective surgery that was meant to heal her became an obsession that consumed her identity. Her case shows how multiple procedures can create an irreversible cascade of changes, and how corrective surgery can evolve into destructive behavior when left unchecked. Today, Kim's appearance bears no resemblance to her former self. The confident, beautiful rapper who once commanded respect in the music industry has been replaced by someone who looks like a completely different person.
She's a beautiful actress, but she's decided to completely change her face.
This whole story, Erin Moriarty was cast as Starlight in The Boys, specifically because of her look, wide, warm, bright face, that perfect girl next door quality. And Starlight, as a character, is literally supposed to be the symbol of goodness. And the casting was completely perfect. And then between seasons, her face changed noticeably, and the internet noticed almost immediately. And then Megyn Kelly made a whole segment about it.
I really want to get in the heads of these young girls and say, please don't do this.
Which honestly was pretty harsh, regardless of what the truth is. And what happened next was actually remarkable. Erin Moriarty came onto social media absolutely furious. She said the accusations were disgustingly false, that changes in her face were from makeup and stress. Her Boys co-stars rallied in the comments to support her, and she was clearly genuinely distressed by the whole thing. And then she stepped back from social media entirely for a while. Later, she wrote something really moving, that she had opened a vein for this role, and that the kind of public scrutiny she experienced is exactly what Starlight, her character, would have fought against. And she is right. Whatever the truth is about her face, the conversation around it was genuinely cruel, and she deserved so much better than what she got. Now, Amelia Gray Hamlin is interesting because her story came with a very specific dramatic twist. She is 24 years old. She is the daughter of Lisa Rinna, who has her own very public cosmetic surgery history.
You've been really public about plastic surgery.
Because there's a taboo. You're a bad person if you do it.
And Reddit users have been blunt about the context. With a mom like Lisa Rinna, this poor girl didn't stand a chance. Not because of anything Amelia did wrong, but because the environment she grew up in normalized heavy cosmetic intervention from a young age. In January 2026, a cosmetic injector publicly claimed Amelia had undergone buccal fat removal along with other procedures. And Amelia came out swinging on Instagram. She called it fake news. She said she had only ever had a temporary skin booster in her lips. She was forceful, specific, and clearly furious, and the public largely supported her. Fans called the original claims invasive and unwarranted. What we are left with is genuinely unclear. But what surgeons consistently emphasize about cases like hers, whatever the actual cause of any visible change, is that performing irreversible fat extraction on someone in their very early 20s is extremely high-risk territory, because the face at 24 does not predict what the face at 44 will need, and that gap is where the long-term consequences live. Mila Kunis had one of the most famous heart-shaped faces in Hollywood for 25 years. Wide, expressive eyes, soft, full cheeks. That combination was so specifically hers. That 70s show fans, Black Swan fans, generations of people who grew up watching her, have looked at recent photos and felt something shift. Dr. Lavi Bitt Ackerman specifically used Mila as a primary example when analyzing this trend, noting that her cheeks appearing dramatically slimmer created a contrast with her cheekbones that he described as clinically more consistent with surgical removal than with gradual aging. She has said nothing publicly, and the comment that fans keep sharing, one that is actually medically accurate, says, "Removing cheek fat makes no sense because you lose it naturally as you age anyway. Why speed it up?" That is exactly right. The face naturally loses volume over decades. The buccal fat pad is one of the last things to go. It is literally built to last. When you remove it surgically in your 30s, you are essentially fast-forwarding your face's aging clock by a significant number of years. Margot Robbie's story is perhaps the most tragic on this list because it perfectly illustrates the long-term consequences of buccal fat removal that many celebrities fail to consider. The Australian actress, who rose to fame with her stunning performance in The Wolf of Wall Street,
Daddy shouldn't waste his time. And from now on,
underwent the procedure early in her career when she was already naturally beautiful. In her early 20s, Robbie possessed the kind of classical beauty that Hollywood dreams are made of. Her face had the perfect balance of sharp features and soft fullness that made her both approachable and glamorous. She had naturally prominent cheekbones, but they were softened by the youthful fullness in her cheeks that gave her face dimension and warmth. The decision to undergo buccal fat removal appears to have been made during the height of the Instagram face trend, when sharp cheekbones and hollow cheeks were considered the pinnacle of beauty. Initially, the procedure seemed successful, giving Robbie the coveted high fashion look that was trending at the time. She appeared more angular and sophisticated, which seemed to fit her transition from Australian soap opera actress to Hollywood A-lister. However, as Robbie has aged into her late 20s and early 30s, the consequences of removing that natural fat have become increasingly apparent. Plastic surgery experts who have analyzed her recent photos point to clear signs of premature aging and gauntness that are directly attributable to the procedure.
And when I look closely at the mid-face area, there's a sunken in element to the mid-face underneath her cheekbones.
Dr. Ira Savetsky's research specifically warns about this exact scenario. You're going to remove a large portion of the Buccal fat pad, and whatever is remaining will shrink over time. 20 years from now, you may look too thinned out and prematurely aged. The changes in Robbie's appearance have been subtle but significant. Where she once had a warm, inviting face that could easily transition between glamorous and girl-next-door roles, she now shows visible concavity or a dimple exactly in the areas that they typically remove buccal fat from. Industry insiders have noted that Robbie's casting has shifted in recent years, with fewer romantic comedy offers and more dramatic roles. While this could be attributed to her growing reputation as a serious actress, some speculate that her changed appearance has limited her range. Dr. Rod Rorish's research emphasizes that if you have it removed when it is not indicated, the result can make you look older. Okay, Zoe Kravitz is the case that surgeons use as the most important warning for regular consumers. And here is why. Dr. Richard Swift specifically cited her as an example of the procedure looking visually successful, noting that the submolar area of her face is now really well defined. And in her specific case, it does look striking. She has extraordinary pre-existing bone structure. Her face can carry this. But here's the trap. When Zoe's result looks striking, women who do not have her specific rare bone structure look at those photos and believe the procedure will do the same for them, and it will not. It physically cannot produce the same result on a face that does not have that underlying skeletal support. For most people, according to Dr. Ackerman, this procedure ends up making them look older, less natural, and overly worked. Zoe is effectively one of the only people whose bone structure can carry this look at all. The problem is, her photos look like an advertisement. An advertisement should always come with fine print. And now, Jennifer Aniston. She is 57 years old. She built her entire public persona around looking naturally beautiful. From Rachel Green's iconic hair to her America's Sweetheart image to her Aveeno campaigns about healthy, natural skin. And her face in recent years, look, it is still beautiful, but it is different, and people have noticed. Fans on Reddit and Bored Panda have been observing that her face has looked noticeably leaner around the cheeks in recent years. Some netizens suspect mild buccal fat removal, though she has never confirmed any procedure beyond skincare and laser treatments, and her fans have pushed back strongly on the speculation, many saying it is simply ageism, that people are incapable of accepting that a woman in her 50s just looks different than she did in her 20s, and that does not require a surgical explanation. And honestly, that is a completely valid point too, because one of the things this whole conversation can accidentally do is make normal, natural aging look like something that needs to be explained, like something went wrong. And it did not. Sometimes faces just change. Sometimes that is just life. Cayetana Fitz-James Stewart. For centuries, Spain's House of Alba stood as a symbol of power, wealth, and nobility. But no member of this royal lineage captivated the world quite like Maria del Rosario, Cayetana Fitz-James Stewart, the 18th Duchess of Alba. Known for her eccentric spirit and immense fortune, she held more than 40 noble titles, making her the most titled woman in the world. She had everything money could buy, except time. During the 1980s, as Europe celebrated her charm and flamboyant style, Cayetana began her personal crusade against aging. When the first wrinkles appeared, so did a long list of surgeons. It started with a simple nose job, followed by facelifts, lip fillers, and endless rounds of Botox. Each procedure promised eternal youth, yet brought her further from the grace that once defined her. Over time, her refined, aristocratic beauty transformed into something taut, shiny, and uneven. Desperate to hide the effects, she underwent even more work. Procedures that only worsened her appearance. Her skin lost elasticity. Her expression became fixed, and her once elegant features faded behind layers of intervention. Still, the Duchess remained defiant. In 2011, at age 85, she shocked the world by marrying a man 24 years her junior. The wedding made international headlines, not for the romance, but for her dramatically altered face. Some praised her courage to live on her own terms. Others pitied her transformation. Yet her life stands as a poignant reminder that even the most privileged among us cannot buy what truly matters: youth, time, or peace with one's reflection. All the titles in the world, all the wealth, all the power, none of it could stop the clock. And in trying so hard to fight it, she lost the very grace that made her extraordinary. And we have arrived. the moment I promised you from the very beginning. And I want to say this clearly. No other entry on this list generated more global conversation, more medical analysis, or more genuine shock than what happened here. Madonna did not just participate in pop culture, she defined a generation. The ultimate chameleon who set every trend rather than followed them. For the 40-plus generation, she was the blueprint for female power. Simply, completely untouchable. In her prime, her face had a striking, commanding quality that was entirely her own. A natural, strong jawline, piercing, defiant eyes, bold brows, and classic bone structure that conveyed a fierce, rebellious energy. There was nothing generic about her, not even slightly. The transformation was a slow, stubborn march toward the extreme, until the 2023 Grammy Awards delivered the moment the entire world stopped and stared. Madonna walked onto that stage so dramatically altered that people genuinely did not recognize her at first. Cheeks pushed high into her eyeline, her jaw softened beneath unmistakable heaviness, the fierce natural architecture of her face buried completely underneath it all. She responded with characteristic defiance, pushing back hard against the public reaction and making clear she had no interest in discussing her choices with anyone who disagreed. A board-certified surgeon stated it appeared she had undergone multiple face and neck lifts with extreme volume being the telltale sign of significant overfilling. But here's the ending most people still do not know. Following the intense public response, insider reports from aesthetic professionals revealed that Madonna quietly underwent procedures to dissolve much of the excess volume. Today she carries a notably more refined, refreshed appearance. Even the Queen of Pop eventually felt the weight of what had been lost. And in that quiet reversal, in that very human private moment of finally saying enough, she became somehow the most relatable she has ever been. Now this one is going to feel very different from the last two, because Vivica A. Fox does not do quiet, and she certainly does not do regret. Playing Will Smith's fierce girlfriend in Independence Day, stealing every scene and set it off, swinging a blade in Kill Bill, Vivica had an unshakable confidence that made her one of the most beloved screen presences of her generation. Radiant complexion, a brilliantly wide smile, a beautifully defined jawline. She looked like someone who could take on the world and look effortless doing it.
Happy belated birthday.
Yeah, 60.
Unlike Daryl, who vanished, and unlike Donna, who let the silence speak, Vivica has never been remotely apologetic about taking control of her appearance.
When I say a partner, I want someone that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That's not intimidated by who and what I am.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
good.
We'll be all.
And I don't discriminate. He can be. I'm not against different nationalities. And you know that too.
In recent years, audiences noticed a stark shift. The sharp contouring of her jaw and cheeks replaced by an intensely rounded, expanded mid-face that pushed her natural features toward the margins. When asked about it, she was characteristically direct. As long as you keep getting better, whatever it takes, you do it. If you're comfortable with it, you like it, I love it. And the untold detail that genuinely made me smile. Vivica recently converted an entire bedroom in her home into a professional glam room so she can feel like a superstar every single morning. Whatever you think of the choices, you have got to admire that level of commitment. For Aiden's cosmetic surgery disaster is particularly ironic because she's married to a plastic surgeon, yet she experienced some of the most regrettable outcomes in Real Housewives history. Her husband, Dr. Bill Aiden, should have been able to guide her away from problematic procedures, but instead, their professional and personal relationship became complicated. Jennifer's cosmetic surgery journey began successfully with rhinoplasty that gave her the refined nose shape she wanted. But her next procedure, a chin implant designed to create better facial balance, quickly turned into a disaster. Almost immediately after the surgery, Jennifer knew something was wrong. The implant didn't look natural, didn't feel right, and created an appearance far from what she had envisioned. She made the difficult decision to have the chin implant completely removed shortly after installation. This required another surgery, additional healing time, and left her dealing with scar tissue where the implant had been placed. The removal process was complicated and traumatic, leaving her with no improvement to show for all the pain and expense.
I would love to say that I'm that calculated and micromanage, the marketing strategies of things. So
Christina Aguilera, pop icon. Christina Aguilera's 40-pound transformation sparked one of the most heated debates in Hollywood. When she appeared at Barry's Gym in September 2024 celebrating her debut album's anniversary, fans immediately noticed something dramatic had changed. Christina has aggressively denied all speculation, insisting her transformation came from the rainbow diet, eating colorful fruits and vegetables, combined with consistent exercise. She told Glamour that the media's obsession with her weight was particularly painful, but the timeline and dramatic nature of her change, especially her facial structure becoming noticeably more angular, has left many unconvinced. She posted on Instagram in December 2024, "No one deserves an explanation." That defensive stance only intensified speculation about what really happened during her transformation. And then there is Zac Efron, and his explanation for the dramatic change in his face is one of the most discussed celebrity cosmetic stories of the last few years. Because in 2022, Zac told Men's Health that the structural changes happened after he shattered his jaw in a 2013 home accident, and that his masseter muscles compensated over time. And while that is a real medical thing that can happen, Dr. Gary Linkoff's comprehensive timeline analysis has pointed to buccal fat removal as the likely additional mechanism behind the specific concavity in his mid-face.
At the age of 34, this is when we're seeing more significant changes to his face. The cheeks, the jawline all look more refined.
And fans on Reddit have been direct. He had buccal fat removal. I miss his natural, softer looks. Because here's the thing about Zac Efron that people keep saying. He was the teen heartthrob for a generation specifically because he looked warm and bright and accessible. And whatever happened to his face since then, it looks hard in a way that his face never used to look. And a lot of his original fans find that genuinely sad. And then there is Zac Efron, and his explanation for the dramatic change in his face is one of the most discussed celebrity cosmetic stories of the last few years. Because in 2022, Zac told Men's Health that the structural changes happened after he shattered his jaw in a 2013 home accident, and that his masseter muscles compensated over time. And while that is a real medical thing that can happen, Dr. Gary Linkoff's comprehensive timeline analysis has pointed to buccal fat removal as the likely additional mechanism behind the specific concavity in his mid-face.
At the age of 34, this is when we're seeing more significant changes to his face. The cheeks, the jawline all look more refined.
And fans on Reddit have been direct. He had buccal fat removal. I miss his natural, softer looks. Because here's the thing about Zac Efron that people keep saying. He was the teen heartthrob for a generation specifically because he looked warm and bright and accessible. And whatever happened to his face since then, it looks hard in a way that his face never used to look. And a lot of his original fans find that genuinely sad.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Lady Gaga arrived as both nominee and style icon, wearing this dramatic black feathered raven dress. Severe, gothic, absolutely stunning. She took home 2 Grammys that night, but her appearance generated just as much conversation as her wins. Fans immediately noticed Gaga had a noticeably leaner overall silhouette compared to recent years, but paradoxically, her cheeks appeared really full and lifted. It's genuinely difficult to achieve naturally. When you lose significant weight through normal means, facial fat typically goes along with it. Seeing full, rounded cheeks on an otherwise very lean frame strongly suggests cosmetic intervention. Her expressions also appeared more restrained than usual. Gaga is typically incredibly expressive. That's part of her performance style. But at 2026, her face seemed taut and movements appeared limited. Beauty experts pointed out what looked like fresh mid-face fillers to maintain volume, possibly Botox to smooth her forehead. There's also speculation about buccal fat removal, removing the fat pads in your cheeks to create more defined contours. Combined with strategically placed fillers, this creates that exact chiseled but full look people noticed. Gaga's jawline appeared sharp and defined while cheeks stayed round. Lady Gaga has never publicly discussed using weight loss medications. She's historically private about cosmetic work. Medical professionals have analyzed her evolving appearance and noted changes consistent with rhinoplasty and injectable treatments. With Gaga, changing looks has always been part of her artistry, but this particular combination created that uncanny valley effect, where she looked beautiful, absolutely, but distinctly different from herself. The severe outfit styling amplified that stiff, mannequin-like quality people described. This one made me sad because Gaga has always celebrated uniqueness and pushed boundaries. The fact that even someone as established as her apparently felt pressure to conform to current trends shows how relentless this industry pressure is. So after everything we just went through together, here is what it all comes down to. The fat in your cheeks is not a flaw. It is scaffolding. It is the thing that holds your face together as you age. Every time someone permanently removes or restructures that, they are not just changing how they look today. They are borrowing from how their face was going to support itself at 40, at 50, at 60. And that is a loan that always comes due. These women are not cautionary tales because they made bad choices. They are cautionary tales because the industry around them said yes to everything, took the money, and let them figure out the consequences alone. But here is what gives me hope. In 2026, more women are choosing to dissolve rather than add. More voices are speaking honestly about what went wrong. And more people are starting to understand the face you have right now, it was never a problem to be solved. If this changed how you see even one of these faces, or honestly, how you see your own, hit subscribe right now. More stories like this every single week. Drop a comment telling me which one stayed with you. I read every single one.